Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present Good Luck Sleeping with your favorite spooky sisters, Rachel and Kayla.
The views and opinions expressed in our podcast by us or our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors.
Use of any material by Paranormal Buzz Radio or Good Luck Sleeping without expressed written consent is strictly prohibited.
For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit their website at paranormalbuzzradio.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Twitter and Instagram.
Due to the nature of the content we discuss, listener discretion is advised and not recommended for those under 18.
Well, hello. How are you today, Kayla?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just dandy. I'm excited about... Are you making
You're
fun of me
dandy
already? I say that all the time. I'm wonderful.
It just sounds like something you'd say after meeting Howdy Doody.
Oh, yes. I did go to... I don't even know what to call it. It's like
It's kind of like a market, like with vendors.
an indoor market that's open 5 days a week. And the vendors aren't there, but you can purchase from their booths. And
they aren't there.
No.
Interesting. Okay.
Anyway, I met Howdy Doody. There was a very creepy, haunted-looking Howdy Doody that almost came home with me.
And now she's saying dandy.
Yeah, maybe he
Just
did
saying.
possess me.
I'm just saying.
That could be. Anyway, I'm fine. How's summer been treating you?
It's so hot and there's so many mosquitoes and I hate it. But I did find a good mosquito repellent. So now I feel somewhat invincible when I go outside and I can enjoy it a little bit. But I hate summer. I'm so ready for fall.
Do share. Like, what is your
It's
secret
just
weapon?
Cutter Deep Woods spray or something like that. It works. It smells terrible, but it works.
I have this. It's like and I didn't buy it because I wanted to be like natural. Like I am definitely like whatever works, I will buy that, but this one is more an essential oil kind of a spray and it has seemed to work really well for us.
Nice.
So,
do you know what essential oil it is?
no.
It's probably like sweetgrass or something.
Who knows? But it seems to work
as long
well.
as it works.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah, because the bugs are pretty nasty here in Georgia.
I'm just summer is my least favorite month out of all of them.
It's
Or
your
not
least
month,
favorite
season.
month.
Season.
Yeah, me too.
It's so much longer than a month. I wanted it to just be 30 days and be done with it. But yeah, and especially here in Georgia, it doesn't really kick in until like halfway through summer. And then it carries into fall and you're like, go away.
It carries so deeply into fall that you are just so over summer that like you get angry.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you need the air conditioning on Christmas. And that just is not conducive to my fantasy Christmas.
Right. And like trick-or-treating on Halloween.
Yeah, you don't need a coat.
I mean, it depends on the year because it was really cold like 2 Halloweens ago.
It was so nice.
It was wonderful. It reminded me of the Midwest, which is where I'm from. So
yeah,
that was nice. But yeah, the first trick-or-treating experience that we had down south, we had my son dressed up in a really, really warm monkey costume. And halfway through the night, we're like, forget it.
Yeah.
It's just too hot.
Yeah, we always have to keep in mind, like, you can't wear full, like, stuffy outfits or anything like that down here.
Yeah.
You'll die.
Yeah, true. So you're listening to this far in the future, but for us, it's July 5th. And I noticed from your Instagram feed that your neighborhood went pretty hard.
They did. Yeah, I got a free fireworks show and literally just walked outside and it was like we were in a war zone. You could hear them from every inch of our neighborhood. And it's a pretty large neighborhood too.
Yeah.
And then our neighbors, they put on like a big show. They had the big ones that go up and like.
So we had a couple in our neighborhood too. And they were like on both sides. So it's like we would look one direction and then we would hear and we'd have to like quickly look in the opposite so that we didn't miss either one.
Oh no, mine was like literally I could feel the ash coming down on me afterwards. And I was just like, I don't think that's safe. And it wasn't like, so they had this little setup for their fireworks and I guess that one got full of crud. So they moved it over. Well, it fell over in their grass. And I told my husband, I was like, that's going to catch on fire, because I could see like smoke coming out of it still. Sure enough, 2 minutes later, their yard starts to catch on fire. And they're just staring at it. I'm like, put it out. And I'm like, micromanaging from my driveway and freaking out. I'm like, I'm going to have to go get the hose and make sure they don't come over in our yard. I don't want burnt grass. I don't want my house to burn down.
You're just like watering the line around your lot to keep the fire out.
Just like watching them, staring them down as I hose my yard.
Creating a barrier.
Yeah, but it was beautiful, but it was just a lot. Thankfully, my kids sleep like logs. So.
Yeah. So do mine. Mine slept through it. Well, my oldest was up until the wee hours of the morning, but my
as he does.
Yes, he's a night owl like his mom. But yeah, my youngest just sleeps through him, which is nice.
That's good.
That's
good. She's used to Lola.
He. I have a son, but we don't.
Sorry, I was thinking Lola, the dog.
Gender he wants to go by. Yeah. Yes. Lola's deaf, completely deaf. My old dog. So she it was loud, war zone loud, like you said, and she was literally just sleeping on the porch, did not care at all.
She's deaf. It's a doornail. That's why.
But she couldn't feel the
vibration.
Yeah, she just was sleeping. I was jealous.
Bless her heart.
Sweet thing. Anyway, before we jump into the episode, do you want to talk about where you can find us?
Sure. The best place to join is our Facebook group. It's the Good Luck Sleeping Podcast on Facebook. We have polls, conversation starters. People share their experiences over there. And we also, if we have any kind of photograph evidence or video evidence, we put that in that group exclusively. So I would go over there and join. We also have an Instagram, Good Luck Sleeping Podcast. And it's got new content on it. We completely archived everything, so it's all fresh, all new. And then we have a TikTok, and that's just Good Luck Sleeping Podcast as well.
Yep.
So we're making our way in the world.
Moving on up.
And when this launches, obviously you guys will be able to find us just by looking up Good Luck Sleeping. But we are on the Paranormal Buzz Radio Network. That's a mouthful. And they host on Spreaker, so you can always find us there.
Indeed. Good job.
Indeedio.
Okay, so today I went on a walk and I listened to our first ever episode.
You inspired me to go back and listen to it
too. We were so cute. Okay, so it was a long walk. I had time to listen to the entire thing. And it, like I said, we were just starting out. We were so cute. We were so no innocent. Idea what we were doing. And just the fact that people listened to that first episode and then came back for more.
I know.
Really just welts my heart.
I look at who I was then, scared of everything, afraid of believing anything new, and who I am now, this mystic person who's convinced that, I'm having some kind of spiritual awakening. It's just, honestly, it makes me so proud that I opened up and I was willing to talk about these things and not be afraid of them. And I mean, you've grown a lot since then too. And I think we've we've blossomed. It's so fun.
Yeah. And we know a little bit more about
a lot more
podcasting and this process. So,
I thought you were going to say about the paranormal.
Oh, we definitely know a lot more about the paranormal.
It's true. It's true. It was just a hobby back then. Now we're living it.
Yeah. It's just who we are now.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was really cute, and I'm really glad Kaila listened to it too, because we can
memories.
Yeah. Reminisce.
And also, we do so much better with setting up the layout of our episodes now.
Oh, it was a little
all
choppy
over the place. Yeah, it was all over the place. Yeah. And the transition. I mean, we're not that great at transitions now, truth be told, but we're getting the hang of it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So today's episode is all about, I'm so proud of this name and this series title, The Scare Behind the Score.
Yes. And it was actually inspired by listener suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know who?
Nope. Can't remember. But thank you for suggesting it.
I want to say her name was Sarah, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. Could have been.
I'm pretty sure it was. But anyway, carry on.
Okay. So yeah, The Scare Behind the Score. We chose 2 scary movies, and we're going to talk about the entity that inspired these scary movies.
It's the true story behind it.
Well,
mine was a true story. Was yours not a true story?
I don't think so.
I mean,
no.
Mine was.
Okay. So, but when we do these kind of episodes, we're just going to be talking about what inspired the movie. If there's stories that relate to it that are true, we'll definitely throw those in there. But these both happen to have entities that we were able to kind of delve deeply into for our corresponding movie.
Yes.
I am doing The Ring because that is one of the first movies that honestly scared me as an adult. Not much scares me anymore, but that one did. And Kaila?
I am doing The Grudge, and they are both Japanese entities.
So please do not judge us if there are words or names that we cannot pronounce.
Because there will be.
There are. I didn't even attempt it. Like when I was doing my research, I was just like, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that.
I tried to write it down.
Okay.
That was it. We'll work through it. Okay,
right.
so The Grudge. That was a yes. That was a 2004 experience. Let me tell you. Not very scary for me.
I watched, I think mine's 2004 too, just FYI. I think they were both the same year.
Were they the same year?
Anyway, I watched the new rendition of The Grudge in 2020. They came out with it. It was awful.
The 2004 one wasn't even that great, and they had Sarah Michelle Gellar in it.
Whatever happened to her?
She married Freddie Prinze Jr.
I know, but I feel like they fell off the face of the earth.
No, I follow them on Instagram. They're so cute. They're still together.
All right. Sorry.
Anyway, so the Grudge is basically this Japanese spirit. They call it an onryo. Good luck with that. And it is basically just a vengeful, malicious spirit. It's typically portrayed in movies as like a woman scorned.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case. This actually goes all the way back to the 8th century.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they believed that these ghosts they're wronged humans who come back to bring balance and right wrongs. They can injure or kill the living, and they even cause natural disasters in order to get vengeance. And they take the spirit of those that wronged them or anybody who gets in the way. So nobody's safe. If you all live in a household and like your daddy hurt your mama and she came back, you all need to leave. So it's actually believed to be responsible for earthquakes, hurricanes, and other natural disasters. And that is actually called Tatari. That's what that belief is. Okay, so typically in films, onryo are depicted in white kimonos or white gowns, the long black hair. It's usually over their faces. And then when they part the hair, they've got stark white faces with dark circles under their eyes, and they're terrifying looking. They are typically seen motionless until you start to approach them, and then their bodies start to contort. And their faces are really contorted as well.
A terrifying visual.
It really was. Yeah, I mean, there was one scene where she's like at the top of the stairs and they're like kind of approaching it like, what is this thing? Because you can just see like hair. And as soon as they get close enough, she like sticks her arm out and it's like bent upside down. And then she starts like popping. You know, that's one of the worst things for me is when their joints start doing the popping thing. Yep. And then like you did, the Grudge noise is just completely unsettling. It's the
Is it supposed to be like a death rattle noise?
They have different noises. Each one is different, but they're all just really disconcerting noises, and they're supposed to sound kind of rattly. I don't know if it's the death rattle. Okay. But they are supposed to just be like super creepy. Some of them will be like moaning. Others would be like gasping for air, that kind of thing. So whatever makes you freak out. So let's see. They actually created cults around onryos. Many of the onryos from history were believed to be emperors and kings who were exiled or taken from the throne, died, and then came back to haunt the successor. They would then create the cult around the dead person to restore their title posthumously in an attempt to get rid of the Grudge, basically.
Okay.
So one of the most famous ones, the earliest one, is Prince Nagaya. He died in the year 729, and he haunted the shit out of the person who followed him, and they created a cult around him to try and appease his spirit.
So they can be men?
Yeah. Yeah. They're only depicted as women because that's what sells, I guess. But yeah, most of the historical ones were men.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the true story that the Grudge was based on was a woman, and I'll get to that in a minute here. They kind of, I mean, they talk about it, but they show it in the movie. They show, like, the husband killing her and then killing himself, and the little boy's there the whole time, and so she kind of possesses the little boy, Toshio.
Okay.
And that was actually the true story of what happened. Was it was a murder-suicide, and the little boy was left behind. So yeah, if you don't appease them, they're going to attack family and anything that gets in the way of their victim. And they prefer slow, torturous deaths rather than just outright murder because they want you to suffer. Sometimes, like, one of their most famous things to do is push you to the point that you take your own life.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's more satisfying to them. You can tell if an Onryo is near you if you have a migraine, unexplained chest pains, or feel a dark heaviness.
All right.
So think about that next time you come down with a headache.
Headaches all the time. Guess I need to watch my back more.
So the most famous Onryo is called Oiwa. I knew this was going to happen. Okay. Oiwa. Oiwa was a beautiful young maiden who was sought after by many men. She met a suitor named Eamon, but her father found out that he only wanted to marry her for her title, money, and social status. So her dad refused to allow her to marry him. Eamon was pissed off about this and actually had her father killed. But then he goes back to Oiwa and he tells her, oh yeah, your dad was murdered by bandits. So she ends up marrying this guy because she had feelings for him and he claimed to have feelings for her. And
she was in the dark, so she didn't know.
Yeah. And she had kids with him, so she couldn't leave. And they don't have a good marriage. And then her father's murder really starts to weigh on her and she starts thinking about it a lot. Eamon, meanwhile, falls in love with another woman and wants to marry her instead. So to get rid of Oiwa, the lady's family, so there were two different stories. Either it was the lady's family or Eamon's friend poisons Oiwa and dumps her body in the river. She comes back as an Onryo and drives Eamon mad until he eventually dies. This tale was told by many to discourage crime, and it was based on a woman from 1636 who died and is said to still haunt the place that she lived. So that's one of the most famous stories of an Onryo. In the story of The Man and the Vengeful Spirit, an adventurous man abandons his wife and goes on a journey. Without adequate food and security, his wife dies because he's not looking after her, and her spirit transforms into an Onryo. Her ghost lingers near the house and disrupts the villagers. So when they can't bear it anymore, the villagers ask the husband to come back and chase away the ghost. The husband returns and seeks the help of a wise man to remove his wife's spirit, who tells the husband to...
Tells the husband to what?
I don't know exactly what this interpretation is, but I'm going to read it as if it's a horse.
Okay.
To ride her until she can bear it no more and her bones turn to dust. So, giddy up. And that's another famous story of an Onryo. Okay.
So we're not going to
She was thirsty, apparently.
Never mind. Okay. All right. I'll move on.
What?
I was going to say, is this like necrophilia then?
I have no idea.
We just don't know.
There was no, nobody went into it. It just said, ride her like a horse until she becomes exhausted and turn into dust. And so
I feel like he's literally riding a spirit around town.
It says he listened, clung onto his wife's body, and continued to ride her until she could bear it no more and her bones turned to dust.
Okay.
So we don't know if there was thrusting action or just...
I think she's just a horse.
That's what
you know what?
Okay. That's what I was going to roll with too.
You're right.
So then The Grudge came out in 2004. It starred Sarah Michelle Gellar. And it was an instant sex. Now I've got sex. I've got that on the brain now. I'm a little bothered. Okay. It was an instant success.
Necrophilia doesn't
No. I didn't mean hot and bothered. I meant disturbed.
We've derailed. All right. So The Grudge came out with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh my God. It was an instant success because back in that time, they didn't have, I say that time, I was 14. They didn't have a ton of good movies back then. But the true story is actually scarier than the movie. So this girl named Kayako was a girl who lived in Japan. And when she was young, she had no friends and she spent most of her childhood alone. Her parents found her strange and neglected her, as well as made her sad and depressed, which, screw them. That's awful. As she grew older, she came across a man named Taiko. He seemed to be the only person in the world who cared about her, and she fell in love with him. They got married and stop it. Rachel's over there pretending to ride a dang horse.
I don't know what you're talking about. Keep going.
Okay, so Taiko, only man who got her, so she fell in love with him. They got married and had a son. Before meeting Taiko, Kayako would see couples in love and get envious of them. She was lonely and never had any dates. She developed a crush on someone, but she could never get the courage to go talk to him. One day, Taiko was looking around the house searching for something when he accidentally came across Kayako's old diary, in which she had written about the man she had a crush on and was in love with. Not knowing that the diary was old and nothing ever happened between those two, Taiko was convinced that his wife was cheating on him. Okay, have a conversation.
Right.
Like, don't just assume. You know what assuming does? It makes an ass out of you and me.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Kayako, I can't say her name. When Kayako got back home from work, she found Taiko mad with anger. And I shouldn't be laughing at this. This is awful. I'm laughing at my inability to pronounce
I'm just
names.
thinking about how the names I have to pronounce are.
I know what name you have to pronounce.
Much.
I am so excited.
Okay.
Okay, so serious story.
Mm-hmm.
When Kayako got home from work, she found Taiko mad with anger and holding a knife. Kayako asked him what was wrong, but Taiko was filled with too much rage to think rationally and started attacking her. He slit her throat and slashed her multiple times in front of their young son. Kayako tried her best to escape, but she tripped and slipped on her own blood, breaking her ankle. Taiko grabbed her and snapped her neck. Sorry, that was really graphic. It is believed that Kayako was paralyzed but still alive. Ugh. Taiko pulled her and locked her in the attic to die and rot. Their son was constantly crying and trying to save his mother, and already mad with anger, Taiko killed him as well by drowning him in the bathtub.
Good Lord. So this is true?
This is true.
Ugh.
After Kayako died, she turned into a vengeful spirit. When people die in massive pain and anguish, they turn into ghosts. She strangled her husband with her hair. Mm-hmm. And when the police reached the scene, they found only Taiko's body, and it was believed that he committed suicide. Since then, the vengeful spirit of Kayako resides in that house, and anyone who enters it starts experiencing strange things. At night, a cracking, weird, rattle-like sound can be heard, sometimes outside the house, and there have been multiple cases where people have found dead animals outside the house.
Wow.
So if you watch the
They
Grudge,
probably have my cat.
Maybe.
My cat kills many presents for us and leaves them at our doorstep.
Well, if you watch The Grudge, there's a black cat that is like tied to her presence. So whenever the cat comes around, you know she's close behind. But also the little boy that died, he came back as a ghost, and they're kind of synonymous in the movie. Like you'll see him and then you'll see her at the same time, or you'll see his face and it morphs into her face, and it was her little boy. But in the beginning of the movie, somebody goes in and like they're drawn to this closet because they can hear the cat meowing, and they rip the tape off and open, like they can see like there's a spot above.
Is that where she comes like and you can see her face through the ceiling? Or yeah. Ooh.
And so she pulls that away, and the dead body of Kayako falls on her. And that's in the beginning of the movie. That's what triggers everything. Okay. So yeah,
I remember that part. Like I saw this movie forever ago. So yeah, but that stands out in my head.
Yeah. So that's the true story behind The Grudge. I did look to see if there were any unfortunate set accidents or anything like that. They didn't have anything happen, thank goodness. But yeah, that's what it was, a real story.
Okay.
Really happened.
Mine was not. But I'm going to tell it anyway. All right. So this is The Ring, and I'm not going to give away the full synopsis of The Ring in case you haven't seen it. It's really good, so go watch it. But basically, it's based in Seattle, and teenage best friends Katie Embry and Becca Kotler discuss their town's resident legend of a cursed videotape. Whoever watches it dies 7 days later, and Katie claims she watched the tape a week ago, and minutes later she's killed by an unseen force. At Katie's, and then I remember just the freeze frame of her like with like the death stare and the contorted face. Anyway, okay. At Katie's funeral, her aunt Rachel Keller, who is played by Naomi Watts, begins to investigate Katie's death. Rachel lives with her young son Aiden, who possesses a degree of mediumship, and Rachel learns that Katie's friends Josh, Stacy, and Scott, who also viewed the tape, all died on the same night as Katie, all with disfigured appearances. Rachel travels to Shelter Mountain Inn, where Katie stayed, discovering the cursed videotape herself. Rachel watches the tape, which contains disturbing, gruesome imagery, and once the tape ends, Rachel receives a phone call from an unknown caller who whispers...
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
7 days.
Oh.
So Sadako's evil spirit, which is... Okay, so The Ring is based off of... The American version is based off of a Japanese version.
Okay.
So Sadako's evil spirit, who is Samara in the American version, is based off the Japanese concept of Onryo or vengeful ghosts. So
Same
it does,
thing.
yes, it ties into yours quite a bit.
But there was another entity you're going to talk about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Onryo were thought to be the souls, blah, blah, blah. You know. Kaila literally just told you. But it's pale women with long disheveled black hair wearing white burial clothes. And in ancient Japan, women's hair was kept up until death, which is why in death their hair is long and usually in front of their face.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So I'm sure you all can picture the one scene in the film where
It's like
Samara is crawling out of the well and she like crawls toward the screen and then comes through the screen into like real life through the cursed videotape. So anyway, so that's like an Onryo. But another form of Onryo is the slit-mouthed woman. And they are very similar, and I'm diving more into this intriguing entity. So,
Hey, what's the Japanese word for slit-mouthed woman, Rachel?
oh, I don't know. I couldn't find it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It might be Kuchisake Ana. Kuchisake Ana. I am not making fun of Japanese pronunciation. I am making fun of myself who cannot pronounce.
Okay, but you kind of
any
do
of
have
these
to have
words.
like a Japanese tones. I think it's Kuchisaka Ana.
I am not going to pronounce it that way
Okay.
because I feel like
Is it
I
not the
will
same
sound
thing?
so stupid.
Oh my god.
You sound great. I'll just point to you whenever I need it to be said. Okay. Kuchisake Ana is a malevolent figure in Japanese urban legends and folklore. She is described as the malicious spirit or Onryo of a woman, so it's only a woman, who partially covers her face with a mask or other item. So she covers the scariest part of her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is her slit mouth.
Her slit mouth, and carries some sort of sharp object. She is described as a contemporary yokai.
Which that's the Japanese word for ghost.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, thank you. Because I didn't research that. According to popular legend, she asks potential victims if they think she is beautiful. If they respond with no, she will kill them with her long scissors. I guess in this bit of research, she has scissors.
yes.
If they say yes, she will reveal that the corners of her mouth are slit from ear to ear. And she will then repeat her question. If the individual responds with no, she will kill them with her weapon. And if they say yes, she will cut the corners of their mouth in such a way that resembles her own disfigurement.
Really quickly. So, I had looked over that, but I came across a different article. And she, according to this article, the second time when she shows you her slit mouth, she will ask, it's watashi kirai, which translates to, and now?
Oh,
Which
am I still beautiful?
Yes! And it's
Yeah.
so creepy.
Ugh, that's creepy. Thank you for that. Methods that can be used to survive an encounter with Kachisaki Ana include answering her questions by describing her appearance as average or distracting her with money or hard candies.
I just picture like Werther's Originals.
Do you want some? I got some of these from my grandma. According to legend, Kuchisake Ana was a woman who was mutilated during her life with her mouth being slit from ear to ear.
Aww.
In some versions of the story, she was the adulterous wife or concubine of a samurai during her life. And as punishment for her infidelity, her husband sliced the corners of her mouth from ear to ear. Other versions of the tale include that her mouth was mutilated during a medical or dental procedure, and that she was mutilated by a woman who was jealous of her beauty, or that her mouth is filled with numerous sharp teeth. After her death, the woman returned as a vengeful spirit or Onryo, and as an Onryo, she covers her mouth with a cloth mask, often specified as a surgical mask. Or,
Oh, so like what we've had to wear through the whole pandemic.
Correct. So she could be anywhere.
Oh my god.
Right? Or in some versions, it's a hand fan or a handkerchief. She also carries a. I'm sorry,
how do you say
all
that?
this? Handkerchief?
You don't say handkerchief?
No.
Chief?
What month are we in, Kayla?
It's July, okay?
July.
Okay, but you can't make that joke without it.
June's over.
July.
Okay, so in some versions of the legend, Kuchisake Ana will leave the potential victim alone if they answer yes to both of her questions. Though in other versions, she will visit the individual's residence later that night and murder the person while sleeping. Other survival tactics include replying to her question by describing her appearance as average, giving the individual enough time to run away.
Oh, so she's like, she'll get pissed off, but it's like takes her back for
Yeah,
a
like,
second.
oh! And then you run away.
Excuse you?
Well, she's aghast. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, or I guess you can throw money or hard candies in her direction, and as she will stop to pick them up, or by saying the word
shiny.
pomade 3 times.
Pomade.
Okay, so if you tell her about hair products 3 times, she will leave you alone.
Or insult her hair, apparently.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, some history. Author and folklorist Matthew Meyer has described the Kuchisake Onna legend as having roots dating back to Japan's Edo period, which spanned from the 17th to 19th centuries. In print, the legend of her dates back to at least as early as 1979, and the legend was reported in such publications as the Gifu Prefecture newspaper on January 26, 1979. Let's see, where else? Oh, April 1979, rumors about her spread throughout Japan, creating hysteria to the point that young children would sometimes be accompanied by members of parent-teacher association groups while walking home from school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it really made an impact on their culture when it came out in print. Okay, so a little bit more about that. This is an article called Creepy Tales About the Japanese Urban Legend of the Slit-Mouthed Woman by Jen Jeffers. Her article begins by talking about how she terrorized children in the 1970s, like I just said, in Nagasaki.
That's where they dropped the bomb.
Oh.
The atomic bomb.
Not Hiroshima?
They did both.
Okay.
I believe. You know,
we're really good about history, so.
I'm pretty sure, though.
You can probably quote us on whatever we say. It's all facts. Kuchisake Onna was well known in the Edo period of the 1600s, this says, but she slowly faded into the shadows as time passed. Then in the early 1970s, she returned to the public imaginations with a vengeance. Children claimed to see her everywhere around Nagasaki, Japan, and police began to fear that there was a killer on the loose, and the panic grew with each sighting. They bumped up night patrols and put out local warnings, but they could never seem to find her. And then in 1979, the scares just stopped. One of her victims apparently called on the devil for help.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Few people live to tell the tale after seeing Kuchisake Onna, but there are some stories from survivors. Once, a boy named Chance encountered the terrifying spirit as he was taking a shortcut through the woods. His mother had warned him to stay away from the remote area, but he didn't listen. But he did know one thing. Evil spirits could be banished by certain words. Pomade. No. When Kuchisake Onna stepped out from behind a tree and confronted him, he fell in terror, landing on his back. She gazed down at him and asked her famous question, "Am I pretty?" As she removed her mask and revealed the horror beneath, Chance grabbed his cross necklace and chanted the devil's curse. "I banish you to the shadow of death. I corrupt you to the netherworld from which no one has ever come, and into the dirt no being should ever cross." He had hoped that she would just run away, but instead, demonic hands rose from the dirt behind Kuchisake Onna and grabbed her legs, pulling her into the earth. But as she sank, she told Chance, "I will be back and I will tear you to pieces."
Ew.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, her cousin lurks in America also. The slit-mouthed woman stalks the streets of Japan, but there is a similar figure within the urban myths of the United States.
Oh.
There were rumors of a demonic clown who would hide in public bathrooms waiting for unsuspecting children to come in. Then when they did, he would grab them and ask, "Do you want death or a happy smile?" If they chose the latter, he would use his giant knife to slice their mouths.
So it's kind of like the same encounter.
Yeah. And if they chose the former, that was the end of that kid. I don't remember anything about that.
When was it?
I don't know.
Must have been before we were born.
Apparently. So I'm ending this with, obviously there are not a lot of experiences, firsthand encounters of.
Because it's an urban legend.
Yes. And I don't think many people survive it if they would encounter it, if it is a real thing. So I decided to put together some experiences that people have had during and after watching The Ring.
Oh.
Yeah. So they're not especially, they're just interesting. They're interesting and very coincidental. The first one comes from Andrea Morrow, and she said that this was during the movie. "I hope it's okay. My daughter and I were watching the movie The Ring, 2002. It came out at home. My daughter, who was 17 at the time, and I have no idea why we watched the movie. Neither of us handle scary movies well, and I think she talked me into it on the condition that I try to keep her from watching any bad parts. Anyway, she kept a couch pillow over her face most of the time, and it was hilarious. The movie was sort of frightening, but unlike other horror movies, it was mainly a sort of creepy mystery. It didn't get really scary until the end. Anyway, the movie involves a videotape which is cursed, basically. Anyone watching it will be killed unless they pass it on to someone else. It's like hot potato, only instead of the potato, it's a Samara, the monster. So the video is pretty much weird stuff, which makes sense later in the movie, and it shows a white ring overhead, a girl in white crawling out of a well, and a fly crawling around. Other stuff, but I don't remember. Anyway, there's a scene in which the main character is in some store and at a display of TV screens and sees the fly. She is horrified, thinking that the video is playing, and she swats at the fly and smashes it. She's relieved it's real, but on our TV screen, there was a real fly exactly on the same spot as in the movie, and when she smashed the fly, we saw it continue to crawl around. My daughter and I both screamed, and I ran to the TV. My daughter followed in case there was a monster or something under the couch. You never know. There was the fly, and we looked at each other, well, as much as we could, since my daughter's face was half hidden by the pillow. We were stunned. I'm half laughing. She's half crying. I shoot it away, but it came back, so I had to kill it. Of course, we had to make sure it wasn't bleeding, or we had to make sure I wasn't bleeding from the nose, which was what happened in the movie. Anyway, that was our experience. It made the movie really memorable.
Wow.
This one's from Victor Suarez. And he says, I was 16. I was home alone since everybody went on a trip that day, and I stayed home because I was feeling sick. It was 1 a.m. and I was going through the channels on TV when suddenly I ran into this movie. I didn't know. Oh.
You ran into a movie you didn't know.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it was The Ring. If you haven't seen the movie, the thing goes like this. If you watch a videotape and soon after that the phone rings, and when someone picks up the phone, they hear a voice whispering, 7 days. Meaning you are going to die in 7 days. And all sort of weird things started to happen until after 7 days, the girl crawls out of the TV and something happens. I won't give it away. So back to my story. I was watching the movie, seeing all of these people die in the most bizarre ways, and I was really scared due to the conditions I was watching the movie in. But for some reason, I didn't want to change the channel. At the same time, I couldn't stop looking at my phone in my living room, waiting for it to ring and whisper. Yes, I was that scared. But I thought to myself, who is going to call past 1 a.m? I was trying to cheer myself up. The coincidence. The phone rang when the clock struck 2 a.m, and my heart started beating like the drums of an ancient ceremony. I didn't pick up the phone, and it stopped ringing, but the phone rang again and again. Although I was really scared, I stepped up, walked up to the phone slowly and looked everywhere. I grabbed something in my hand to defend myself just in case of the phone, I guess. I don't think you can defend yourself from somebody on the other end of the line. But anyway, I picked up the phone waiting to hear the whisper. It was my mom asking me if everything was fine since I was home alone and she thought I might still be up, which I was. I said everything was fine and I acted like I wasn't scared. She didn't even notice. I went to bed after the movie was over and I couldn't sleep that night. I had a mirror in front of my bed and I was waiting for the girl to come out of the mirror at any time. The funny thing is, I'm 30 now, and after that, I avoid any horror movie, especially The Ring. I just don't watch them since I spent months seeing The Ring's little girl every time the lights went out.
And also something I think that made that movie more convincing was back when that came out, it was a VHS tape, and that's pretty much what we watched movies on, was a VHS tape.
Right. DVDs were just starting to kind of take over.
Yeah. So I think that made it more realistic too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how many kids haven't found like that mystery VHS tape that you have no idea what's on it? And it's got like your mom's handwriting of, oh, this is a football game, or this was, memories of me as a child. And you go to put it in, and then it's like this screen with a well and,
Right. Yeah. And there are certain things that you had to do in the movie The Ring to keep yourself safe. And we literally wouldn't have the equipment to do it nowadays. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, you have to make a copy of The Ring.
Oh,
so
no, wouldn't be able to do that.
So no, I mean, unless you got double VH or VCRs. So, okay. Last story is from CR Sierra. I have one that I'll always remember fondly. My friends clearly didn't believe me when I told them, but my mother was with me when it happened, and it is easily explained. Back when The Ring was released on DVD, my mother and I went out and bought it. We had seen the film in theaters, mind. We took it home and watched it in the dark, just the two of us. If you have never seen it, the plot involves... Okay. I won't
Another
explain
recap.
it again. There's a scene in the movie itself where the main protagonist, Rachel, is examining the video in more detail using professional equipment. She notices that the fly still twitches when the film is paused. Experimenting with frame-by-frame playback, she comes to a point where the fly appears to be really on the outside of the screen. She reaches for it and manages to indeed pluck it from the screen, and then gets a nosebleed. The fly is real and alive, and it struggles in her grip, then flies away when she is interrupted by someone and releases it. After we watched the main film, we were checking out the bonus materials on the DVD, and a fly lands on the screen. We feign horror, joking about the coincidence, and continuing the gag, I decide to walk over to the television and try to peel it off, like in the film. I do so with ease, tweezing a wing between my two fingers and delicately picking it up. After exchanging looks with my mother, I let it go, and it flew away unharmed. We considered it suitably creepy. Now, here's why there's no reason not to believe me. Flies use both their eyesight and sensitive hair-like projections all over their bodies to detect objects moving towards them. The glare and static field from the television screen confuses these senses.
Oh, so they're just kind of frozen there.
Right. And through their compound eyes, it gives them a near 360 view, and they do have a blind spot from the rear. And I had approached it from below, in this case, meaning its bum, as it was, of course, vertical
Sneak attack.
and facing the ceiling. They're also less alert to slower movements, so having approached it carefully would have contributed to its docility. Docility. Yeah.
Words.
Sure. Houseflies are diurnal and since...
What is this person? I feel like
you're
the house
so
fly
smart.
specialist.
Good night. And since this was at night, it may have been a bit loggy. Under these conditions, it's no great wonder that I was able to nab it.
Wanted to like
she's driving
nail it home that
Yes.
this happened. We believe you.
We gotcha. Okay. Anyway, she says that you could try it the next time a fly lands on your TV. You'd probably have the same results.
I think
Anything.
I'm good.
Anyway, so there was nothing truly supernatural about it. It was just the coincidence that was creepy/funny.
Oh, she like wanted to really debunk it then.
Right. Anyway.
Well, it's super creepy too because fly presence is said to be like demonic. Yeah. So, and there was that one episode of Ghost Adventures where I think Zach Bagans was in the room. It was some haunted object. He has that haunted object show.
I know, we talked about it in our first ever episode.
Oh, I didn't get to that part. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, he was sitting in there and a fly came in the room and he of course, in Zach Bagans style, freaked out.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I had one quick thing. Okay, so tonight, after we record this episode, we are actually going live in our Facebook group and we're going to be playing a couple spooky games that I found. Just to kind of like connect with you guys, interact and stuff. And if you missed that and you hear it on this episode, you can go and find it. We'll have it in the Facebook group somewhere for you. Okay. But while I was looking for spooky games, I came across a Japanese one and I thought that it would be interesting to talk about because there's no way in hell I am doing this. So it's called the Fortune Game. And it's originally, like, if you say it in Japanese, it's Suji-ura.
Okay.
And it's ancient.
I feel like that was spot on pronunciation.
That was what?
Spot on pronunciation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's ancient folklore and it's actually been practiced for centuries. All that's needed is an ordinary comb, something to conceal your face, and a crossroads, which, if you're dumb and you don't know what that is, that's where two roads meet. Anyway, there's something creepy and mystical about an intersection of two or more roads. They think that it's like symbolic and it's not like you're making a deal with the devil. They're saying you're not meeting any demons in this game. They think.
So
do you
comforting.
ever know?
Okay.
I think it's weird. Okay, so you start by walking out to the crossroads just after dark. You can do it alone or with a friend. And you stand near the center and you make the comb speak by running your fingers across the teeth. I'm not going to imitate that sound. There, that's good. Then you repeat these 3 lines. Suji-ura, grant me a true response. Conceal your face and then wait. And wait and wait until someone approaches you. If nobody comes or you're approached by a friend or somebody you know, your request has been denied by the spirit realm. But if it's a stranger who walks over to you, don't reveal your identity and politely ask them to tell you your fortune. listen quietly, and when they've finished and have disappeared back into the night, stop laughing. This is serious stuff.
I'm just picturing you asking just somebody who's concerned about you standing in the middle of the road.
What's my fortune?
They'll be like, and I'm still concerned. I'm calling someone.
Yeah, 911. So then you walk home with your newfound knowledge. Did you get good news or horrifying news? Who exactly was this stranger? A dead relative or some messenger from the beyond? The mysteries are exactly what makes this game so enthralling. And apparently it works because it's been carried down through centuries.
I'll give it a whirl.
No.
Do you have a comb?
I mean, if I do, I'm not telling you where it is. I was just like, no. But it sounded really interesting, and it was Japanese, so I had to include it.
Okay. Do you want to give it a go?
No.
It's just about dark.
No.
It is the perfect time for this.
I'm really okay.
Okay, well, maybe I'll do it alone then.
We have 2 other spooky games that we're going to be playing, so.
True, but none that's going to tell our fortune.
Just imagine, it's like, around here, a lot of people walk home from work, and it's
That's
just
what I'm
like
saying.
this dude walking home from work, and you're like, hey.
Tell me my fortune.
What's my fortune? He's like, what the fuck? Just starts running. Oh, man.
Is my request denied?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not a demon, are you?
And then you
Oh
see
my
about
God.
it on like your Facebook neighborhood group. Like
We don't have one.
psychopath
This is like,
standing in the road.
there's no HOA here. We're not like a
clearly
cool
with all of
neighborhood.
your firework
right.
shenanigans.
Did y'all's like stop at a certain time? Like, was it?
As soon as you thought it was done for the night, there was like some
Just like a random
They're like,
rogue one.
Oh, I guess they're sleeping. Let's throw off our reserves.
Oh, well, they do that year round here. They celebrate everything in this neighborhood.
What a sweet community, though.
It's really annoying.
I love their enthusiasm.
Because then we play the game. Is it gunshots or is it fireworks?
Oh, we had definite gunshots.
Really?
Last night. It was like 6 in a row. And we hung out with our neighbors, and our neighbor is a former police officer, and he's like telling me all the horror stories of when bullets go up in the air. He's like, they come down. And apparently he went on a call where like a neighbor had shot bullets up in the air, and then they came down where a child was sleeping and missed it by like a foot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he's like, dude, what goes up must come down, and they come down fast, and it can be deadly. So he was like very agitated last night when the bullets were going off.
Oh, I bet. The bullets.
I was like, so proud of myself for not messing up that line. My mouth has not been working. Like,
It's okay.
It needs to be tonight.
It's okay. They love us anyway.
Thanks for that. So I wanted your advice on something, and I thought it would be beneficial to our listeners because maybe they will listen to our podcast late at night, close to sleeping, or they will watch a scary movie close to bedtime. What are some tips that you have to make sleep come more easily when you're scared?
Well, let me tell you some things I've tried because I've had some friends lately. Okay, so personally, I get oil and like anoint the door frames and the windows. But if there's like other things you can do if you don't believe in like holy oil, I know that there's like a rune that you can sign.
I saw that
on the top of your door, that supposedly keeps entities out. You can sage, which I'm actually going to go get sage probably this week because I want to have it. But you basically, when we did this before and we had whatever demon came out of the Ouija board, we didn't do it right. You're supposed to open a window so it can leave.
Oh.
And we were just like dying on the smoke. Yeah, but basically you open windows and then you run through the house like saging and like...
Well, yeah, because when you sage it, the smoke has to go out because you're literally pushing it out. So
yeah,
you're supposed
but it's
to
pushing negative energy with it.
Yeah, but you're
Yeah.
supposed to start at the lowest part and work your way up to the highest.
But you're supposed to have the windows open
Out a window.
all
Oh.
through. Yeah.
Okay.
And that we did not do that right. So you want to do that and push the smoke out, and with it, it will take the negative entities. I also have invested in my first crystal, And it's tourmaline, which is supposed to repel negative energy. And it was actually crazy because the first night I had it, you have to like activate it. So I put it in the bathtub with me because supposedly water or earth will activate. So you can either put it in the ground or in underwater, whatever you can do. Some charge it by like moonlight.
Moonlight, I've heard.
Yeah, that works too. But I did water and I put it under my pillow because they say you can do that. And that was the first night I had not had nightmares in a while.
Nice.
So highly recommend that as well.
Yeah.
And then I had a tricky situation with, I'd felt like my closet was haunted. Like it feels dark in there. And you've even said my house feels full. Yes. How you put it.
Feels like you've got some friends that you can't see.
Yeah. And that's what I had gotten rid of what I felt like was like the evil ones and the malevolent ones. But this one was just kind of like watching me all the time. And then I realized, and I don't know what made me realize it, but I think it's inside the mirror because my closet doors are full length mirrors.
Right.
And so I was like, how do I get that out? And it was like messing with me because I would go lay down to go to sleep and it felt like somebody was just standing there watching me. Mm-hmm. And you kind of like look at it and think you're going to see something. And it had like moved my door one night. I was just over it. And then I have like a Christian background, so I decided to try this, but something told me to write scripture about not being anxious on the door. Mm-hmm. And I did. And it feels like it's contained. Like it doesn't feel like it can come out and get me anymore, but it feels like I'm not as watched. Oh, I didn't tell them about the handprint.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I had this theory about the mirror, and then I started seeing all these things like on Facebook or when I was researching like mirrors, and TikTok videos would come up about paranormal spirits and mirrors. I'm like, okay, clearly something is trying to tell me that that's right. that my hypothesis is right. Mm-hmm. So I had gone in there, and I do have 2 young children, but about halfway up the door, 4.5 feet or so, there was an upside down child's handprint.
Yeah.
And I even had my oldest son come in and like show me where he puts his hands on the mirror. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me like, Mom, I didn't do this. I don't even come in here, And like the way that he would have had to contort his body to get it upside down, like you can't.
You would have to like jump off the bed.
Yeah.
And then like.
And there's like 5 feet between the bed and the mirror. So It was physically impossible. My youngest couldn't even reach that high.
Right.
And it was a child's hand. It wasn't like my hand or anything. And it was upside down as if something had crawled through the top of the mirror. So I cleaned it up and I was like, okay, I'm going to watch for more, But then that's when something told me to write the scripture verse. I think it's really anything that you believe has power,
right,
is what's going to work. And that was just what it was for me. So it feels contained right now, but I was just like, dude, I have the worst luck with this stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to bother me much, which I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's just, I kind of opened myself up to it because I've been trying to embrace whatever's happening to me. So I think that's what it is. But
I just ignore that. I just ignore it.
Yeah. I went through a phase where I did that and I didn't experience much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I'm an intuitive person, but I also feel like I'm not. I mean, nothing really bothers me. I'm so desensitized, unfortunately, that it would take a lot to. It's not a challenge, okay? I'm not throwing a challenge out there to anything. I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty calm when it comes to that kind of a thing. So it would take a lot to bother me. But yeah. Anyway, my tips for being able to sleep well are watching a comedy
that helps
before bed.
Yes.
A lot of people say they watch Disney movies before bed after watching a scary movie. They have to balance it with something as scary as the movie was. They balance it with something as light as they can, and so Disney is a good indicator there for them. Otherwise,
mine was like if you're actually dealing with something.
I'm just saying,
if
like,
it's just a scary movie, you can pretty much, say, okay, that was fake. And
right. Well, yeah, like listening to our podcast or listening to a scary movie is how do you fall asleep after that? And I usually balance it out, or
But you're also the person who reads creepypasta to fall asleep.
I do, yes. So my advice would be not to watch it before bed or to listen to us too close to bedtime. So
drink your chamomile tea. We were just talking today about how our old ending was. It was so funny.
It's not much better.
No, it's not.
Anyway, how do you want to end it?
Good luck sleeping, guys.
Good luck sleeping. Bye, guys.